What's that?
Shows?
Oh, who said? Yeah, shows too. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the band right now. We just were down in Deep River Saturday night. The breakdown of solo work because I work under my own name and I work with the band too. It's still my show, but it depends on the venue or where we are.
Cool.
So last year, to give you a range, it was 541 shows.
Wow.
But 401 were just solo shows, and the rest were bands. So whatever that breaks down to. So, and then this year it's probably going to be less band shows. I mean, as time goes on, there's just bigger shows and festivals and stuff like that. I'm doing solo.
Let me ask a question. We just recently shut down one of our shows.
Yeah.
Only for the lack of interest.
Right.
Of
listeners.
Not listeners. Well, listeners too, but the lack of interest from your counterparts.
Yeah.
People have said, "Why did I do that?" Well, to run this network, it's very, very... Listen, I just turned 24/7. We have to have a website now. We have to have fresh content. Otherwise, there's so many podcasts and so many radio stations. A podcast is fine. You can have that once a week. But to have a radio station, you got to keep it fresh. Otherwise, they're going to tune out.
No shit.
We did this show called Undiscovered. First of all, for the first week or 3 weeks, we're getting people to send us music like crazy. Played everything, played them all.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to the point to where I was actually sending out mass emails. It's like, all right, need any music, nothing. And then the listeners started to get bored because I just kept playing the same stuff almost.
Right.
But same people, but not the same music.
Right.
Or the same songs.
Right.
So I just said, like, what am I doing all this for?
Yeah.
You're in a scene like where everybody's mad at the bar. The bars are mad at the players.
Right.
The radio stations are getting mad at the fucking singers now. The singers are getting mad at the radio stations.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
No one and I said I can do a cooking show and have the same amount of listeners, or I could have a show to where I just breathe heavy for 3 hours, and have the same amount of listeners. And I don't understand how a band if a guy on an AM station in New Haven were to say, "Pete, come on my show," I'd be like 2 hours early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's my dream to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the scene, the Connecticut scene, not you guys, I don't know your guys' ethic, but the scene from what I've dealt with is it's like they'll show up when they want, or they won't show up, or they'll cancel.
Right.
Or they don't like promote it.
Right.
Like our new rule is, if we booked you and it's a month ahead of time, and if you haven't started promoting it the Thursday before, then Monday we're calling you to tell you not to come.
Right.
Only because you don't appreciate us.
Right. I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're not promoting that you're going to be on the radio, especially if you don't know us,
right.
then there's something wrong with you.
No, I know.
I'm going to be on the radio. I mean, if I was to promote Lemon Pledge, I'd be like,
I'm
going to be on the radio. Guys, listen to me on the radio. But
seriously,
and that's what's making... I seen, like, people like... somebody told us we were watching Peter Gabriel and Sting.
Yeah.
I put it on the thread on the Facebook, and guy goes, "What'd you do, lose the bet?" And it's like, but you know what? You don't... There's 100,000 people here.
Right.
They're not making albums no more, and these guys, what they just made, the cheapest ticket was $200, and that was us.
Yeah.
On the top tier. I mean, if we saw his fucking head, we were lucky.
Right.
But the music and the show was good.
You know, I think there's so many outlets now that there's this scattergun approach that bands use, and they put their shit out everywhere. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
They put their stuff out everywhere.
Wow.
Like they put it all over the internet. And they miss a guy like you that wants to promote that, because they got it on 100 other stations, and then they lose interest or they don't.
But that's the
follow
thing.
it up.
100 other stations. If you don't play it on the 101, and there's a guy from CBS listening to that 101, I do every show like it's the day I'm going to get discovered. I mean, 5 years later, I'm still not.
I hear what you're saying, man. I mean, see, I don't know. I grew up in the music scene. You know, Jackie McLean was my mentor, right? He played with Miles Davis. Jackie got addicted to heroin. Miles kicked him out of the band. So Jackie came up from Brooklyn to Hartford. I might have talked about this last time I was here. And, you know, when I met Jackie, his message to me as a kid, I was 12 years old, and he said, "I don't fucking care what gig it is. I don't care if there's one person there or there's no person there. I don't care if you make $5, you make $10,000. You show up and you play.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? There are a lot of my peers. I mean, I've been doing this 38 years, man. You know, it's a long time, fucking schlepping around in my Hyundai.
But then I also agree with these venues shouldn't, like we're doing.
Yeah, you don't want to starve the artist either. But like, there's a perfect example. You booked me a show, man. I do every show. I never say no.
Right. You were fucking made an event a month ago.
And so that's how it has to be. And I mean, but a lot of younger artists, I hear the industry's bleeding them, but I also see a lot of younger artists that don't appreciate the industry.
No, they don't.
But listen, young artists,
they don't understand the work that they
That's
need
right.
to put in.
You got to put in a lot of fucking
But if
work.
a young artist can't come in here in this space and see how passionate you are about this, they're missing it.
Yeah.
They're missing it because you could put your shit everywhere.
Right.
But if you got a guy that's putting it out there, and he's putting it out there all the time, you went from a podcast to a radio site. You're putting music out all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
If they can't see that, they're not there.
They're
just
not
there.
in it to hard enough to work.
Right.
We, as a matter of fact, we just picked up a brand new sponsor. They're like 4 days old, and we threw into the cost. We threw in a live broadcast.
Right.
She's like, "Well, what can you bring me?" I said, 10 people. She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, 10 people. There's 5 on the staff, and there's going to be 5 guests. Don't expect me to bring a fucking crowd because that's not what I'm doing. There's 10 people at $20 a piece. You'll make $200. That pays for your ad for the month.
Right.
She's like, "All right, I appreciate your honesty. Here's the check." But that's what I don't understand. Is like these bars and these musicians, they fucking fight each other.
I know.
Stop.
I know.
You need each other.
Yeah.
All right, you know what, bar? Go to the cello. The cello will print you out a fucking sign 300 feet long for free.
Right.
If all you got to do is buy a case of beer from them.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not now, they're on strike. But go to the cello and get that shit and promote it.
Right.
Put it on your face. I have not met a bar owner that knows how to do a fucking Facebook page to save his ass.
Yeah. No.
You see a fucking Bloody Mary on the page from like 3 months ago, and it's like, why aren't people coming?
It's also on the musicians too, though. Some
That
musicians
too.
come out and they're terrible. They're mom and pop bands, and if they bring mom and pop, that's great. But some of them don't put in the time to practice.
Bands need to do
that.
social media too.
Yeah,
Or
well, not even social media, but performance.
a flyer.
Like you have to perform. You
Right.
you have to put songs that are entertaining and then be entertaining. Some bands won't do that.
Is this
So
why
it's
the
cool
cover
too.
bands are kicking everybody's ass as far as shows?
But even the cover bands aren't. I mean, there are some really good cover bands out there these days, and some that are just not that good.
Right.
And if you're
I
going to
mean,
be
you
an
got
original actor,
you got the
have to
fun
be really
bags
good.
in the zoo who make $5 grand.
This is why they put karaoke. This is why they put karaoke in DJs.
I'll tell you what, there is a great concept Disney did, and they fucking took a band, and they took a band that was a cover band that was failing, but they still loved to play. They took them and they brought them, not Disney, it's Universal. They brought them in and they opened up a karaoke bar, and it's a band with 3 backup singers playing music like you're in a band. And they got cameras on you, and they make videos, and you get the video at the end of the day. What a great idea for fucking shit like that.
Yeah.
But like I was trying to say is bars need to come in and instead of fighting each other, sit at the table and say, well, how can we get somebody here? Well, I know what I can do on my end. What can you do on your end? Instead of fighting.
Right.
Because I used to be with the guys, the band side, and then I started to realize the bands can be pricks, too.
Right.
They're like the biggest divas I've ever dealt with, too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
No
But it's like
way.
now, it's what the problem is now, it's 2 divas battling each other.
We just almost benefited from this thing that came down around the cover songs and around the royalties. And as an original band, you can play now, and the club doesn't have to worry about getting raided by the feds and having to pay all these royalties for cover music.
You're on ASCAP?
No. What I'm saying though is that we're in a position.
You're original.
We're original. So we're in a position now where if we can, if we can inform people what's going on, we can benefit from that.
Right.
Because we can play in there and you don't have to pay any of that.
The DJs are getting taken out.
Right. And so we're in a place right now where this could be really good for original music.
But a bar should also still always have ASCAP because you know what? A good band like you guys might one day get big and say, fuck you, fucking
Right.
Brass City.
Right.
I want money now.
Right.
And guess what? He's not covered.
No, you're right.
All bars should have ASCAP.
No, you're right,
now.
but they don't. But they don't.
They're trying to fucking strong arm me, and
That's right.
I told the guy, I said, one more letter, and I'm going to fucking just all talk. I won't even play an opening song.
All right.
Don't strong arm me because I don't. My show isn't built on music. I mean, bands, yeah, but
I mean, back to your original.
right.
Back to your original statement. I mean, it's not really an issue of cover music and original music in the scene anymore. You know what I mean? Because over time, I'm a blues player, so blues artists cover stuff. I mean, I cover shit from Elmore James. I mean, you listen to bands in the '70s, and they were doing all this all these blues artist songs and Muddy Waters shit and
Zeppelin
and Zeppelin and I mean, Aerosmith's first album is like cover music, and it's like. So there's a lot of cover music out there and songs that we listen to, grow up to, and those are cover songs. So it's not really so much that, it's the uniqueness in what you bring. So
that's right.
What artists need to bring to the clubs is not 20 people or 50 people or a bunch of people who are going to drink. They need to bring some unique setup. So that's what I try to do.
And with that said, another thing that needs to stop is bands like the whole thing with Led Zeppelin recently. Bands need to stop saying, "Oh, you stole," because what happens is if you're a kid growing up listening to Led Zeppelin, those riffs are going to get stuck in your head, and as a musician, you're going to hear that once in a while. Because we were at Peter Gabriel on Friday, and I could have sworn they were doing 2 turntables and a microphone.
Yeah.
That's right. Am I right? But they weren't.
Yeah.
It was the riff, and then at the end of the riff, it wasn't. You know what I mean?
But that's cool.
But it's stuff that.
Did he use tape? You're saying?
No, it was the band was doing he was talking about. I think it was about what happened in Orlando, and then he went to. It sounded like 2 turntables and a microphone, and then I forgot what song. I don't even recognize the song because he did a lot that I didn't recognize.
Yeah.
But it's me and Ricky are like, wait, is he gonna do 2 tables and a microphone? And it wasn't, because at the end of the riff, it changed.
But you're not copying.
What do you mean by that? 2 tables and a microphone.
That's a song.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Beck, right?
Yeah, Beck.
Okay,
But you're not
that's right.
copying a song. That's different. You're taking influence and you're making something new out of it. And I think that's where you were heading.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the reality of it is like, again, I grew up in jazz and blues and, many songs. I mean, think about how many times "So What" has been covered. I mean, that's a Miles Davis song, but one of the most prolific versions of that is George Benson. So that kind of world where you'll see a band go out and do a Bon Jovi song. I'd like to see a band do a Bon Jovi song, but do it in a way in which they thought they wrote the actual fucking song.
You know what I hate now? Those
That's
fucking cover bands that think they're Bon Jovi.
Right.
That's
I mean,
But
LA's
commercial,
backstage
though.
page. I saw them.
there's no uniqueness.
Has anybody seen the Bon Jovi commercial where they're sitting on the couch?
Yeah.
Right.
Like
It's
these bands
terrible.
that they still look like fucking the 80s.
I feel bad for him when I see that commercial.
I mean, one of the
I know, right?
one of the biggest
end of his
names.
career.
One of the biggest names in modern guitar today is Derek Trucks, right?
Yeah.
So Derek did a whole CD of Miles Davis music, and John Coltrane. So he did Naima, and he did My Favorite Things. He did all these Coltrane songs. But when you listen to him do it, it's totally Derek Trucks. You drive in the car, you're like 100 miles an hour.
Music is like baseball. It's only good when you're there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there was nothing like watching a concert. Like I
it's
saw
true.
2
I
this
get
year.
it.
Man.
I get it. I know you mean.
I fucking love that. Let's take a little quick break so everybody can stretch their legs, and then Bruce, you can play a song, and then we'll get the
You got it.
not here to play their stuff.
Cool.
So,
All right.
all right, everybody, so they can stretch their legs, and we'll be right back in
Let's-
about 7 minutes. So we'll just say 7 minutes. All right. Oh, not that one. Not that one. No.
Don't ask me what you know is true. Don't have to tell you I love your precious heart. I was standing, you were there. Two worlds collided, and they could never tear us apart.